going to do this evening the Gloriously Fallible pattern, page 33. In fact, as I looked at this, I became aware that this is not written with a pattern question. So as you watch the process, as I do the process, you'll have to listen for the questions that I use and the questions that I ask. This really describes it rather than gives you the questions. Gloriously fallible. Being fallible is just a fact, and it's an inescapable fact. So you're fallible, I'm fallible. There's no other choice about that. It's a question of what's the quality of your fallibility? Do you embrace it? Do you accept it? Do you welcome it? Do you use it? Do you delight yourself in it? Or do you hate it? Do you try to avoid it? Do you try to pretend that you're not fallible? So what's the quality of your fallibility, and what are you aiming for? So if you aim for perfection, do we have any perfectionists in here? Got a few perfectionists, a few that don't admit it. Any recovering perfectionists? Nobody from over this side is perfectionism. Now, perfectionism means I want to be flawless, especially first time out. That's what it means. Perfectionism has the idea of it could have been better. Yeah, could have. It can always be better.
How perfect are you now? Are you too perfect to make a mistake?
Or do you perfectly make mistakes?
My preference is to be imperfectly perfect. That allows me to stumble and fall many times because I am imperfect. That's okay.
So when we meditate concepts, here's a great concept to meditate. To meditate the concept of being a fallible human being. So as we begin with that, you can see in the middle some bullet points. What would we like to meditate our fallibility with? And it can be acceptance or curiosity about it, or anticipating what good can come out of feeling frustrated about not being perfect. We can meditate it with calmness and relaxation, with loving of self. And so there's lots of things we can meditate it with, and the steps here, 4 steps are given. Check for a sense or a frame of internal permission. Do you have permission to be a fallible human being?
That's a good question to ask yourself right now. Do I have that permission to be imperfect, to be fallible? Is it okay? And what comes up to me?
Do you have permission to esteem yourself highly, to highly esteem yourself unconditionally, even if you're fallible? Now, most of us will esteem ourselves as, I did that really good if I do it at a high level of excellence. Can you esteem yourself? Can you treat yourself with dignity and honor even when you mess up? So that's what the 2 permissions there. Permission to be unconditionally valuable, and permission to be fallible, and to do both at the same time.
Do you measure your value by how perfectly you do something? What happens then to your value when you are unable to do it perfectly? So this is a concern, because you're measuring your value by what you do and how well you do it, instead of who you are unconditionally. That what you do is an expression of who you are. It does not determine your internal value.
So, stepping off of that by separating person from behavior, then step 2, let's look at the behavior. So step 2 is accessing your basic powers, your 4 powers, and as you access those, realizing they're all fallible powers. So we can make mistakes in our thinking, in our feeling, in our speaking and behaving. And so these powers, there are powers to take action in the world, effective action, there are powers to perform, but all the performances will always be less than perfect. So step 3, we're going to outframe with self-esteem that fully accepts our fallibility. So we do have a question there. What would it be like to accept your fallibility fully and completely while holding your sense of appreciation for yourself, esteem and value for yourself? So that's what we're going to put together and construct. And so once we know what we're going to bring, then we step in and fully experience these two otherwise contradictory experiences. We're putting together. So who would like to do this pattern with me? Wow, that went up fast. She was faster. So first hand gets to go. Colin, if we could have that for Ariella.
Yes.
So testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Okay. So as we begin, if you think about training, and we put training out there, and tomorrow night you'll stand up and hopefully express a full fallibility in your training. So this will be our context training. And let's check permission. If you go inside and say, I give myself permission to be fallible, to be liable to making a mistake.
Okay.
I give myself permission to be fallible. To be fallible as I present, to be fallible in understanding imperfectly, to be fallible in how I speak. I give myself that permission. How well does that settle inside? Or are there any objections that really fight that permission?
Well, I kind of feel sad. It's like, oh, I'm nothing. It's like,
I'm nothing. Okay. So is that an objection? Or is that what it would mean?
It's what it would mean.
Okay. So now the second permission, let's just check it before we put these together. The second permission, I give myself permission to be unconditionally valuable.
I can do that. Yeah. Unconditionally.
No conditions. Now that was the tricky one. I give myself permission to be unconditionally valuable, worthwhile, having dignity, having honor as a human being, unconditionally. How does that sound?
I know that I have to let go of that other one in order to be able to fully do that. Yeah. I'd like that. So yeah.
So as you let the other one go,
Yeah.
I give myself permission to be unconditionally valuable, worthwhile as a human being. How well does that set?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
I give myself permission to esteem myself unconditionally as someone, regardless of what I do or don't do. Now let's come back to that other permission. I give myself permission to be fallible.
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll settle.
Yeah.
What happens to that old meaning of I'll be nothing?
Okay. So it's kind of, yeah, that old meaning of being nothing goes. It's just sort of, it's normal. It's normal. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like you're setting that frame. It's normal to be fallible. And I give myself permission. How well does that settle? Is that settling all the way through?
Yeah. Okay, so there's like a feeling of what if, I guess it's kind of about so being judged. So what if what if there's judgment on the other side?
And what if there is?
Yeah. Well, there's nothing I can do about it. So
So let's add that to your permission. I give myself permission to be fallible, unconditionally valuable, and if there's judgment, to let it be. Let's now look at the fallible power. There's four of them. Tomorrow you stand and present. And as you stand and present, there'll be fallible thoughts, fallible feelings, emotions, emotional responses and states. There'll be fallible speech. There'll be fallible behaviors. And as you recognize those behaviors, those are just behaviors, expressions of you.
expressions of me. Well, yeah.
Expressions that come out, and yet you are unconditionally valuable as a human being.
Yeah.
Our third step was framing, so that we fully accept the fallibility. So, as you think about the unconditionally valuable, and then just accepting fully this fallibility, as we first frame just acceptance, I accept my fallibility. It takes nothing away from my dignity. It takes nothing away from my value and self-esteem. These are just expressions of me at this time, this place. And as I think about my timeline and going out and standing up and developing and becoming more skilled in my speech, in my behavior, in the way I think, in what I know, and how I feel.
I kind of get this, there's like this voice that says, but I really want it to be perfect. And it's like, yeah.
And when you hear that voice,
Yeah. Well, it's like it's sort of crying out, but like a child that really wants something that they're told they can't have it, or it's not possible.
so what resource do you need to bring to that voice?
It could be like a knowledge that well, in the imperfection there is perfection, or there's beauty in the development or the making, I guess. Yeah.
So if you draw, there's beauty in that development. Would
Yeah.
that answer that voice?
Yeah. Yeah, it would.
So let's set that as a frame. There's beauty in that development.
Yeah.
So is that sufficient? Do we need to bring any other resource?
No, I think feels right.
So we've got my worth and dignity as a person is unconditionally valued. I am somebody. I get to express myself in these fallible ways. And there's beauty in that development. So as you step in there and fully experience that, let's bring all of this to tomorrow night.
Yeah.
All of that, step in there Just be with that unconditional self-value, that accepting and welcoming of fallibility, there's beauty in this development. And as you imagine doing that tomorrow night, notice how you're breathing, notice how your eyes are using as you're looking at your audience, imagine the voice, and as you coach your body to feel this dignity, this unconditional value, and then accepting it's fallible.
Yeah. Feels very comfortable. It's like I can just actually be in my body and look around. And I feel, yeah, it's cool actually. Yeah, it feels good.
So the last question will be, how will you know to have this tomorrow night? What will anchor this for you so that you can go back to this state, in this gloriously fallible state?
What will anchor it? Just a thought that, okay, can the thought do it? Just the thought, so, okay, it's going, okay, have fun. Just have fun.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those in your group, would you stand up to speak? Would you go on there?
What? Yeah, that's what it means. Yeah. 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 Cool.
Give her a hand.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Wilkie is up for this, and Colin. Okay.
Test. Good evening, everybody. Perhaps I'll be the example is during the glossary protocol. For me, this is not my. I'm not always used to use the English to doing the presentation on the stage. This is a little time for me to do that. Okay, yeah, I have a deserve to have your encouragement. Okay, thank you. This time is a very good example. It's about doing the glossary Fallible also. Before the demonstration, you can see the incident about the microphone. Yes, is it kind of the incident microphone? And then Michael just just laugh at it, and then just take a joke for it. Turn it on. Well, so take a relaxed day to do the demonstration again. Within this demonstration, Michael used a lot of the body language to do it, to make Ariana to get into trance. I read a lot in my book, but I can't say it because I need to put on my glass to prepare for this. Okay? In the first step, there's a 4-step in this pattern. First is to get a frame and to get the internal position for Ariana to get the trance. You guys, Michael has asked about the question is so what happened and the whole meeting or what happened to Ariana, and also you can see Michael use the both hands. The left hand is representing the Fallible, and the right hand using to represent the glossary. You can see most of the time Michael uses the right hand Fallible, and then use this hand is accepted as the Fallible. Most of the time and doing with both hands represent unconditionally from the top and down to the bottom. All the unconditioning for that, also using the hand to do so. And during the second step, it's about the processing. Ariana will have been lead to using also use your finger and using your gesture to do the hand gesture to follow. Michael's the gesture to do so. And the third step is that is about the outframing of the fully established vulnerability. Michael uses the relaxed state and moving his body just so relaxed, and then we do that. And we can see Ariana just move the body, just like the dancing on the stick, and then it's so relaxed, and that to in the mind get the flow of the energy, and also the relaxing. It's all the relaxing to accept the vulnerability. And the last step, Michael also using the hand, the gesture to do the same. Use the both hand and put it on putting the hand gesture to put forward, and then to using the ankle. Is it this like this way? Using the ankle for Ariana, and Ariana will be so fully related by the Michael, and using just like the hand, and so always move her body, and to accept all the process about the glossary of the vulnerability. That's why I saw it. Is that? Okay. Thank you.
Hello, here I am. For the pattern, we could easily be very robotic and just go through the patterns and doing step 1, step 2, 3 and 4. What I'd like you to be aware of is 2 particular things, voice and gestures, that Michael was using as he went through each of those steps. Did you notice how he specifically used his hands and his voice, even his body, to pace and to build rapport and to lead and confirm? And if so, what did you observe? That's a question to you. Are you watching these things? Are you noticing? Do you think that he just moves because he feels like it? Maybe there's a fly around him. Are you watching this? This is what we want you to model. While you can definitely do the pattern and ask the questions around giving yourself permission to be fallible, are you noticing how it's being communicated? Whole body communication. So here's an example. What resource do you want to bring to that voice? Was what Michael said. Now, if we just say, what resource do you want to bring to that voice? Well, that's fine, that's just here. Tone's not too bad if you present it that way. And yet he will use whole body communication. How did he do that? Yes, he uses it. Good, and that's it there. Voice is inviting. This is what you need to be modelling, these things. While at one level, learning the primary level of step 1, step 2, step 3, it will not be that alone that will ensure the shift and the change when presenting the pattern. It's the additional, it's these things that determine the success, is that what will you bring to that. Michael often uses this gesture. And another example is step into that, and he will actually put his hands, and I'll do it in a mirror here. He'll specifically talk about space here. So now we're talking about spatial anchoring. These are some of the components we're going to be talking about tomorrow. Spatial anchoring. He's going to use both hands. He's talking to space and holding space. And he'll start shifting things away and bringing things in with his hands, and at the same time using his voice. So we'll push that out. We'll bring that in. So there'll be a shift in tonality, and these are the things that you need to be picking out, because that is what leads the person to change, to explore, to discover, to confirm, to make decisions. Are you aware of that now? Or are you just watching it at a primary level? Is that okay? Are you aware of this? Another one here, say for instance, closing. Notice how you're breathing. The voice shifted immediately. Notice how you're wanting to induce state, using voice, gestures, tonality, squeezing, stretching the word. So notice how you're breathing. Accepting is fallible. And the response was, I'm very comfortable. So the conversation was Michael leading to comfort by the tone of voice, the gestures, the pacing, the rapport. Are you now observing more than what you were before? It's so important. Here's one final one. So how will you know? The tonality changed immediately from, in essence, a state induction of notice how you're breathing. So how will you know? Did you hear the shift in my voice? So notice how you're breathing. So how will you know? And I'm overemphasising it because Michael's got a much narrower way of doing it. I'm wanting to overteach it here. So you're well aware that there's definitely a distinctive shift, and he's demonstrating the shift, and that it will immediately induce a state and shift a state as he's working. Have fun. Did you notice what happened then? Were they both giggling? And there's this movement, and there it is. So there's immediate pacing going on and giggling going on, and the whole thing shifted. It's a dance that's going on, and we'd like you, when you're watching these presentations of how the patterns are run, for you to pick up how it's being presented, how it's being delivered. Exactly the same skills are going to be used in presenting to a large group. And you're aware more now.
So with this pattern, we don't have it set out as questions, so let's give you the questions just to make sure you have the questions or the statements to make at each step. It begins with where are you fallible that you need to bring some glorious fallibility to it. So where? So asking the question where? Well, in this context, it'll be tomorrow night, one place, as you stand and present. So as you think about standing and presenting tomorrow night, how accepting are you of your fallibility? So that'll be kind of a testing. Well, let's find out. Do you have permission to be fallible? So do you have permission to be fallible will be the next question. Once you've identified where do you have it. Then we do the permission. Go inside and just say these words. So now you're doing an induction. Go inside and say these words. I give myself permission to be fallible. So you'll lead the person into that internal dialogue, and then the next question is, how well does that settle? How well does that settle? Does it settle? And if it does settle, if it doesn't settle well, but it's still settling, then how many more times do you need to give yourself that permission before it settles fully? Later on we'll talk about presuppositional type of statements, so you can lock in those. So how well does it settle? How many times do you need to give yourself permission? If there's an objection, then what's the objection? If there's a voice that's saying, for Ariella, there was sadness. I feel sad. Because why? Well, then I can't be perfect. So instead of me coming up with an answer for her, I'm going to ask, how are you going to answer that voice? What's your answer? Do you need to answer it? Do you need to listen to it? Is it just a voice? If it was something really to work on, she was answering it very quickly. If there was something to work on, I would have said, how old is that voice? I would have done something. It'll be, how old is that voice? Is that your voice? Is that someone else's voice? So I really need to answer that voice. Then we did the second test. Give yourself permission. I give myself permission to value my myself, unconditionally. Now we saw a little shift going on as I repeated the word unconditional, and then she caught that word, oh, unconditional. So step one is testing out, does the person give themselves permission to value themselves as a person, and does the person give themselves permission to be fallible in what they do?
So you're ready to go and do this? Are you willing to make a mistake while learning to do this? How do you want to do that?
So is everybody clear on the second step process? If you've got questions of step one to keep going. Step two, just to remind you, step two, because fallibility is about what you do, so let's look at the four powers. So I kind of facilitated the process as you stand tomorrow, and you may not know everything you're going to present in that lesson, in that presentation. You may have all kinds of fallible feelings about fear, anxiety, worry, apprehension, fear of judgment. And what you say, you may not have all your words worked out, or your actions. So those are fallible. So now we're going to tie it together in step three, I think it is. Well, step two, accepting the fallibility. You accept the fallibility. Knowing your value, do you accept it? And if there's any question, then as you bring acceptance to the fallibility, because this is just an expression of you, notice what happens. How well does that fit? Do you have any other resource you need? Then the step three is the outframing. Outframing with maybe what it would mean. When I heard her say, I'd be nothing, is that what we need to deal with? And so then going back and refreshing, I'm a somebody who expresses himself, herself fallibly, and it's okay, and to give some meanings or reasons or some other resources. So you do what's necessary. And because it's a dance with the person, because you don't know what they're going to offer you. So you don't know the next step of the dance until they give it to you. You follow. Find the resources to enable this new pattern to solidify. And the last step is to coach the body. Step in, experience, coach the body, own it, and then come up with an anchor so the person can get back to this state.
Pair up, you know what to do, and learn by doing.
And this time Ariella will be the third person in the group.